these guys are. I think we've got them. It started a wee bit earlier. I started about, I think, 12:30 the march. I don't know if there's any speeches prior to it, but there's obviously a counter-protest down at George Square, and we will try and get the march from wherever we can get it and see how many people are on the Scottish Independence March. Whether they're losing a bit of credibility with Humza Yousaf's brother-in-law now getting charged with abduction and assault, and Nicola Sturgeon's husband is now up for potentially fraud charges, although Humza Yousaf is now downgraded this fraud as an actual crime. So we will just have to wait and see. If I think we've caught up with it already, that's quite good. What the numbers are here, and see if there is an opportunity here to rekindle the nationalist movement, or still have support for the nationalist movement. I don't think that it's the nationalist movement that is the problem. Still seems to be quite a large support. Nearly 45% are still wanting independence, but a lot of them probably don't support the wokey lefter, Islamo-Marxist, GIMP Islamo-Marxist, as they do independence. So let me just switch this round. So this is the march. Just down at Glasgow University. So this is us just walking into Glasgow city centre. Now there's a counter-protest at Glasgow city centre for unionists, and obviously the SNP, and although the nationalist scene is not just the SNP, the SNP and Labour and the Liberals and the Greens have been seen to bring in this fascistic hate crime bill, and so we'll be trying to get people's opinions and see if they've got a clear understanding. We've got CND, Palestinian flags, EU flags, so we've got the full gamut of probably left-wing causes. Here's, I don't know if you can see it up there, that's the Scottish Socialist Party. Try and have a word with them. For us being a libertarian channel, and we'll let anybody on, some organisations and groups don't want to talk. So, and it's not just to me, it's the fact is they won't talk to anybody that's out with their clique. So it is very cliquey. It's a bit like a quite a good turnout for what the SNP have gone through. Obviously, I've gone from back to front and started at the back of it, so I didn't realise it was quite as busy as it is today. But it is quite busy, but a lot of EU flags as well. And so the SNP, like everybody else, is split between those that are pro-EU and those that are anti-EU. Some people would want a proper break from being governed by other people, and some want to be part, or globalist shills, and want to be part of the undemocratic EU, Free Palestine. There's another EU flag. It's not really independence if you want to get governed by somebody else, though, is it? So we've now got the Islamists and the far left. Now you've got to understand that the SNP are not a nationalist party, and in the correct context they are a left-wing party. A lot of people are saying National Socialist, but I don't think that gives them credit to what they actually are, which is globalist shills. And now they're Islam will get globalist shills as well, and they seem quite comfortable. I wouldn't stand in something that had anti-Scottish and try to pass myself as pro-Scottish. I don't know if I would describe Islam or the far left as creating freedom, but that's just me. Hey there, how you doing?
Freedom for Scotland! Freedom for Scotland! Freedom for everyone! Freedom for everyone! What we're wanting! That is what we're wanting! Freedom for Palestine! Freedom for Palestine! Freedom for Scotland! Freedom for Scotland! Freedom for everyone! Freedom for everyone! That is what we're wanting! That is what we're wanting! Freedom for Palestine! Freedom for Palestine! Freedom for Scotland! Freedom for Scotland! Freedom for everyone! Freedom for everyone! That is what we're wanting!
So again, I said it was an Islamo left-wing party. The SNP, they're not a nationalist party. They're a shill, a gimp, a globalist Islamo-Marxist party. Boycott Israel, there we go. Sure, Robert the Bruce would be spinning. Maybe that's the way you could get free electricity, because I'm sure Robert the Bruce would be spinning just now in his grave. Maybe you could generate free green electricity off of that. Sounds like libertarians, freedom for everyone. I don't know any left-wing, far-left country that had freedom for everyone. Except when they're trying to silence you, and if you've got a different opinion in Brussels. Apparently the freedom stops at some point. Obviously, freedom doesn't actually mean freedom. Look at the white people. Yeah, I know. They must be self-loathing.
What we want is independence. What we want is independence. Not no more Tory rule. Woo! What we want is independence. What we want is independence. What we want is So we don't become an end. What we want is independence. What we want is independence.
To the country, what you expect.
Independence flag, give us away!
Sorry, I'm wiggling this a bit here. I'm just trying to clear the phone, the tripod as well, guys. So there's a unionist, as I said, there's a unionist, I think Alistair McCormick is doing a counter rally in George Square for the unionists as well. So this will be quite interesting. Obviously seeing both sides. This is the first time that the freedom-loving SNP who wanted to bring in hate speech bill is going to confront the meant to be the non-freedom-loving unionists. So this is obviously. Oh, where did you stand in that? Yeah. I think I just stood in my. I just stood in the big thing of tomato sauce. So, can't wait. Let's hope we can get a wee chat with Hamza. And obviously I don't know if people know this, my problem is not with Scots seeking independence. That's not my stick at all. My stick is against people who are globalists, Islamists and Marxists. That's the problem. And unfortunately, a great number of the people in this march unfortunately fit into that category. Obviously being a libertarian, I'm not going to be pro-ideologies that support an authoritarian ideology. Very difficult to walk back with everything. Put in a cycle lane in the middle of, reducing the traffic lanes in the middle of Sucky Hill Street. So this is down to, I don't know if it's a two-way or a one-way, but looks like it's a one-way. Put a completely wasteful, unneeded cycle lane. All these free bikes that are meant to be handing out. No free bike. There's already a scandal with the free bikes and the greens, because the greens are meant to have done something with the money. There's already a problem, and I think if there was a forensic accountant for public service financing in Scotland, they would find much more problems than just the problem with the bikes. But we will have to see it over a longer period of time. But this isn't their money, this is public sector money. And while you can get misspends on public sector money, which a lot of time I think are done deliberately, I think that you really need to have public sector financing accountability that has to have some sort of input from the public. Right, so this is the SNP supporters mob. Yeah. I don't know whether they'll bug out here and go down and see if we can get a few interviews, but by the time they get down to George Square, then just try and go down and speak to the unionists to see if they're down there. I don't know if that's going to be better, more interesting. Yeah, I'm going to bug out here, man. I'm going to walk down. Wait to take this off so it's not wiggling about. So, yeah, I'm going to bug out of that because once you've seen one protest, you've seen them all. But the fact is, that'll take about 5-10 minutes for them to get down to George Square, and we can be down there faster. And we might be able to get a few interviews with the unionists until they stop, and then we'll see who wants to talk to me. And so that'll be quite interesting as well. This will probably be the biggest meet up, I would think. Maybe there's been ones in between, but I think this will probably be the largest number of unionists and the largest number of nationalists since the referendum. Might be a wee bit less, mind you, because obviously things have not been going exactly to plan for the SNP, and there's been one mistake after another. Hi there. So, one mistake after another, a lot of which involving the police. AFFG should be in the square. Yeah, there'll be a few people in the square. I want to get both sides as well. I mean, we are a libertarian channel. We want to hear people, whether I agree with them or disagree with them, what their opinions are. And I can certainly put tricky questions to everybody, anybody who comes on. I can put difficult questions, and that's the most interesting time, isn't it? That's why you're all here, because unfortunately I can make people squirm, not just with my good looks. So yeah, it'll be quite interesting to see what sort of size that'll take. I don't know, that'll probably take, I would think, about 30 minutes, 40 minutes maybe, to get down to actually George Square. If it's going that slow, it took quite a wee while just to move halfway along Circle Hill Street, so there's still a few, depending on what route they go, a few roads to travel and annoy the people in the cars. So I don't know how they're going to come down, but if they just come down Buchanan Street and go straight along to George Square, it might not take quite as long, but obviously I don't know the route. However, it won't take me about more than 5-10 minutes. But anyway, back to what we were talking about. So this is really bad. He's bringing in authoritarian speech rules. He's wanting to bring in more authoritarian speech rules, criminalise people in their house, criminalise people in for thoughts of how things can be interpreted. The fact that anybody's voting and anybody finds this in any way acceptable or socially acceptable, and this is really targeted at straight white men, especially non-believers. Don't forget, this said you could only be insulted if you were religious. But so, as it's been rightly pointed out by myself and other commentators, this is a blasphemy law. It didn't say anything if you weren't religious. So this obviously is a discriminatory bill where certain people are protected and other people aren't. So this is Nazi-esque. I mean, a lot of the time people were saying, or certainly authoritarian-esque, where specific groups are protected and other groups are discriminated against in legislation. This is a discriminatory bill. And now they want to bring in a discriminatory bill for women. And that's probably why he didn't put women in with the hate speech bill, because if he's protecting religion... What's up, pal? Do you want to talk? I'm going live. All right, okay, that's no problem, all right. What? She's saying a cock and a frog is also a woman. So, I know, I understand, I get it. She's completely correct. Yeah. So, you won't be voting SNP then, will you? Or Labour or Greens? So no, she's quite right. So it is going to discriminate, because now a woman could be, went to work this out. A woman or a guy in a dress could be maligned for misogyny if the biological woman complains about it. I mean, you couldn't write it. You actually couldn't write it. And not to mention the fact that because Humza has not put this in with the rest of the protected characteristics, disgusting term, protected characteristics, spoon on, it's meant to give Humza a piece of earrings from the taller buildings. But her misogyny, she's right. So obviously, because Islam is the most misogynistic thing just now in Scotland, that's protected under religion, and that's possibly why, because obviously Islam treats women like a second-class citizen, he's not put that, he's put that outside the hate crime bill. And that's why he's deliberately done that. He's put it outside the hate crime legislation. And I think that means that Islam or Muslims will be able to be misogynistic but protected under the hate crime bill for them to be, because Islam is misogynistic, that because they're in a religion, that'll take them outside the legislation, even when they bring in misogyny, even though men dressed as women could be protected under the misogyny bill. I mean, you literally couldn't write it. The people who aren't protected are straight white men. So this is a racist, sexist and atheistic discretionary bill. So if you fall into any one of these categories, this is targeted at you. And Joe Biden in the United States has brought in legislation that does not protect men from false allegation, or college students, male college students.
One is to promote the idea of the right to self-determination for Scotland. The Tories are refusing democratic rights, they're refusing to allow a second independence referendum, and then you're saying that it's necessary to build mass struggle of the working class in Scotland to fight for an end to the cost of living crisis, for the second independence referendum, for an independent socialist Scotland.
So can you ask, what's the difference between you, the Workers' Party, the Socialist Workers' Party, the Scottish Socialist Party, and now and the SNP? What is the actual difference there?
Well, put in a nutshell, the SNP are a capitalist party. They support the continuation of big business and capitalism in an independent Scotland. We stand for the socialist Scotland.
Are you a Marxist? Are you Marxist?
Yeah.
So you're a communist, but why do you not just join the Communist Party?
Well, we stand for the idea of democratic socialism. We oppose the idea of
authoritarian socialism,
authoritarianism or top-down socialism.
But that's the way it's always sort of gone, though. The tankies have always won. I've already spoke about this on my podcast. When the Russian Revolution started, both the Mensheviks and the Bolsheviks. So the Mensheviks were the libertarian left, and the Bolsheviks were the authoritarian left. And the authoritarian left massacred all the Mensheviks.
Well, just to interrupt you there, the Mensheviks were the reformists.
They were basically
The
libertarians
reformists
though.
left. The Bolsheviks were the Marxists. So
Yeah, so they were authoritarian.
They stood for the overthrow of capitalism, the implementation of workers' democracy, a democratic socialist society. And that's what Lenin, what Trotsky fought for. Now, opposed to that, Stalin, when he rose to power, trampled over the ideas of genuine ideas of Lenin and Trotsky. So we stand in the tradition not of authoritarianism, not of Stalinism. We stand in the tradition of democratic socialism.
Two questions.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's been 100 million people been killed under. Do you agree with that, or do you not agree with that?
Well, there was mass murder in the Soviet Union, yeah.
And China.
Often against
And Vietnam.
Often against the opposition. Often against those who stood up against Stalinism.
Well, I think everybody would. Well, I think that would be a good thing. They stand up against Stalinism. Do you not agree?
Correct. And that's what I'm saying. That our tradition is the tradition that opposed Stalinism and wanted to go back to the basic ideas of socialism.
And I don't know if you've been told this. I was never taught this, but I've learned this. What was your thoughts about Hitler being in a communist political party in 1999? Do you know this?
No.
Well, it's something I didn't know either, because I don't think either one of us are taught this. But there's a guy called Tick History who actually teaches us that in 1919 that Hitler was in a Jewish communist political party, and he was actually involved in that. Everybody thinks he's right-wing, but he's actually in the coinage of the National Socialists. They're actually the hammer and sickle, which is obviously the communist emblems in National Socialist coinage. Nearly every one of the upper echelons of the National Socialist Party were either under the Social Democrats. I think that was what they were. Who was involved with Marx himself in Germany. He was at the Marxist Party. A lot of the Nazis were out of them, and this other party that Hitler was involved in.
Well, we know that Hitler, when he came to power, dismantled the trade unions.
Yeah, I know, but what he didn't dismantle it. What he did was he reformed the trade unions under the Nazi Party. So there were still trade unions. They were just not the same trade unions.
Yeah, but
they were under the Nazi Party.
The idea of democratic trade unions was abolished under Hitler.
Well, wasn't that not the same under Stalin?
Yeah, that's what I'm
So
saying.
there's no really a difference. So
Yeah,
is there?
but I'm not here defending Stalin or Stalinism. I'm trying to explain to you the difference between the ideas that we represent and the ideas of Stalinism or fascism.
What do you think if I was to stand here and say, I'm obviously not, I'm a libertarian liberal, right? But that's my political policies. Everybody knows that, right? So I'm a libertarian liberal. What would you think if I was to stand here and say, I do not support what Hitler did, but I'm a National Socialist? What would you think of that as of me? Because economic National Socialism worked and there was other advents, but I don't dislike Jews. What would you think of that sort of stance?
Well, for us,
I don't think that, by the way.
For us, socialism has to be international. You can't have socialism in one country. It has to be international because capitalism is international.
Is that why the globalists and the left seem to be so in tune, although they seem like a bunch of corporatists and you are obviously Marxists? Why do you think there's an overlap there from the corporatist globalist?
No, I think the fundamental divide is a class divide in society. So the working class are exploited by capitalism, and the idea of socialism is to put the working class in power.
But they seem to want a globalist one world currency, one world government. And that seems to be similar to what the Marxists want as well.
No, because they want to maintain capitalism.
That's right. No, I agree with that. I do agree. Yeah. They're corporatists. They're not really capitalists. They're corporatists,
exactly.
Which is different from capitalism.
Exactly.
Because you wouldn't be bringing in a whole bunch of rules to govern capitalism if you were a capitalist, would you?
So socialism is the idea that we take the main sectors of the economy into public ownership, that the wealth that's produced in society should be held by the people who produce the wealth.
Are you going to compulsory take property? Are you going to compulsory take other people's intellectual property as well?
No, we take over the major sectors of the economy. So you're talking about the big banks, the big supermarkets, the big energy companies that are ripping us off, the electricity and gas bills we can't pay. They should be publicly owned. That's what we're talking about when we talk about socialism. It's planning the economy for the needs of the majority, not for a tiny elite at the top.
But why are you not just part of the Communist Party then? The Scottish Communists?
Well, it goes back to the question you asked
I
a
get
minute
they're
ago,
tankies, basically.
which is
They're tankies.
They defend the idea of
Stalinism. Right. And it's quite funny because I spoke to a guy from Antifa and he said Antifa is made up of both the authoritarian left and the libertarian left. And that was quite an interesting point of view that because I thought it'd be one or the other. But again, in Scotland, obviously, the same revolutionary fervour is the same as what it was that the anarcho left teams up with the authoritarian left, communist left.
Yeah, I mean, you can find situations where different groups work together on specific causes, you know, against fascism or whatever it might be. But ultimately, the differences between the Communist Party and the Socialist Party fundamentally rooted in the idea of we fight for democratic socialism, workers' control of management, the economy, and the ideas of Stalinism don't represent any way forward today for the working class.
Well, my name's David.
David, Philip.
Philip, nice to meet you, Philip. No, you spoke
And you.
very well there as well.
No
Putting your
problem.
case forward. I'm not sure I agree with it, but you did well anyway, Philip. Right. Bringing out all the right people, isn't it? I guarantee you half of them don't want to talk. And that's just what I'm saying, that the fact is that you might have voted for these people, but they're not very good at politics. If they were good at that guy was good at politics. I don't agree with him, obviously, being a communist. But they're voting for people who can't have a conversation. We'll go up and have a wee chat with them later on. Let's have a wee look over the unionist side.
You talking, Alistair? No? Yeah. Ah, good man.
Alright, son.
How you doing? Right, buddy?
That message, by the way, I got the confirmation back.
Oh, did you? Good.
It's not signed or nothing.
Was it?
About you fucking idiots. Look, that was to the arrest of human yourself. What? I don't see the
flags up just like flying about, just like and that.
Something else, Alistair. Let's see if we can get Alistair. Alistair.
Good to see you again, Alistair.
Nice to see you.
Let me just turn this round. I'll flip this round. Alistair. Alistair, good to see you, mate. Nice to see you again. Nice to see you. Last time we were out, let me just move this back slightly. Last time we were at the freedom of speech protest last week. Again, is this the main gist? Is it a unionist protest? Is it a free speech protest?
This is basically a free speech protest. We're calling it free speech rules because freedom of speech is the centerpiece of our democracy. Without freedom of speech, we don't have anything. So if you're going to restrict freedom of speech, if you're going to punish freedom of speech, you've got to put a very, very, very high bar on that. And this act is punishing freedom of speech and it's not putting a high bar on it at all.
In fact, it's anything that you feel. It's if you feel something.
That's correct, and it's
thought police. It's a de facto thought police.
That's right. It's guilty until proven innocent, and you don't even know that you've broken the law. Mm-hmm. So you're basically at the whim of whoever has heard you and says, "I find that insulting," or "I find that abusive." And of course, lots of people can find lots of different things abusive. So, or insulting for that matter. Goodness me, insulting, that covers everything. So you don't know if you've broken the law because you might have insulted some poor soul that you didn't intend to insult. And then the police are required to investigate it and then they're bound at your door.
Yeah.
And it's you open up the door and it's Inspector Taggart standing there going, "There's been a tweet." And that's not good enough. That's not how the law works.
This law has been basically brought in because of to prevent Hamza Yusuf's feelings not being hurt.
Exactly.
This is exactly what we got in for on Twitter.
That's right. Well, we're here to say to Hamza, bye bye Hamza, Hamza goodbye.
Do you think he's going to resign after? It looks like they're going to lose dozens of seats in this next election. Do you think he'll resign after? He said he's not going to.
Well, I hope he doesn't resign because he's the best thing that unionism's got going at the moment. Joking apart, I do think that he's going to be under pressure, and I think that the SNP are going to fall out with themselves after the event, especially if they do fairly badly. And then it'll be, I mean, these guys are falling out with each other all the time. This particular group here, they call themselves Make Believe in Scotland. Basically, they have fallen out with the Alba party because the Greens have said they're not going to speak today. If there's any Alba people.
Oh, right, that's right.
So Alba has been excluded, poor old Alba. And they're all under one banner, which no matter what you may think about them, they are the genuine grassroots marching movement of the separatist shufflers. And so basically they've been excluded as well. And they've got their own special march 2 weeks from now.
Is there another march?
Yeah, so they were complaining.
It's almost like the right and the left of the independence movement.
That's right. They hate each other more than they hate Westminster. We're definitely taking donations online or in our bucket here. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
A live
online donation. That was terrific. Well done.
Fantastic.
So, what's the donations for, Alistair?
To cover the costs of this. I mean, a PA system doesn't come for nothing, doesn't fall out of the skies. All these flags don't fall out of the skies. The fantastic telescopic flagpoles, for example, they're a pretty penny.
Are they?
Yeah, they break regularly as well.
Wow.
So it's basically cover our expenses.
Yeah.
And which, to be frank with you, is very, very good value for money, but it does end up running into a few £100.
Yeah. And as we were discussing, you're not any further forward. Obviously, the time is coming in to whether or not we're actually going to. When we're actually going to get the general election. It's looking like it's probably going to hold out till October.
I think they'll hold out to October, yes.
And are you going to be standing candidates, do you think?
We're still to decide on that.
That's fine, Alistair. Look, the march is coming in 2 minutes, that's what I'm saying. And Alistair's going to do what he's going to do. Thanks very much.
Guys, Guerilla family, you're the boys and girls.
Thanks, Alistair. Thank you. Quite interesting, that one. Let me just move that away from me. Quite interesting. Let's see if we can get some balance and get other people to have a wee chat. Hi guys, how we doing? We have a wee chat online? We have a wee chat? You can discuss any political topic they want.
No, better no.
See, they're self-censoring already. So, don't know what that's genocide, apparently. Genocide, Scotland thing. How you doing, mate? You well?
Long time
Good to see, buddy. You well?
You too.
Aye, good. So, yeah, I've got obviously coming from Glasgow and being a bouncer in Glasgow back in the 1990s. I've got a lot of people I've not seen for ages as well, and obviously a lot of people change as well over the last decade, don't they? Don't recognise them anymore. I probably don't recognise myself. I missed that. I missed what you said there. Is the sound? The sound might be coming in and out because obviously I'm in the city centre. That might be out there. Is my man there? Come back. Coming back everywhere. Wait a minute. Here we go. There's a friend from last week. Come on in, mate.
Yeah.
Say hello to the Guerilla.
Read the fucking book, John Halley, A Judicial Monstering, Child Sex Abuse Cover-Up and Corruption in Scotland. Fucking read it. You'll not tolerate these bastards in government or the judiciary for 5 more minutes. Once you see how they put all the pedophiles at the top of the system to protect each other and keep each other in position. Read the fucking book. It's important. You can read it for nothing on Kindle. Nothing. If you go to fucking Amazon, you can get the copy and download it for free if you have a Kindle account.
Excellent.
And if you want a hard copy, you can buy that too.
That's great. Okay, that's great. Good
Cheers,
man.
baby.
Anytime, mate. Anytime.
Take care, mate.
Take care. So
There's the march coming now.
let's see if we can get the front here. See if we can get some speeches. You can tell we're outside and we're outsides and insides, yeah.
Sorry, no, I'm just saying that some of us
Are not getting NUJ passes. A bit fascistic, you know what I mean? Not allowing people who different points of view to actually get elected outside. It really depends. It really depends. Hamza too concerned with what's going on in Gaza. It's clear what his agenda is. Nah, me to Megan. Let me show you something.
One, two, one, two, one, two, one, two.
Oh, I can
One,
see all
two.
these spot on, spoon on, meant to give Hamza a piece of your mind. Cess and peace work. Fight for hundreds of years to be free. The English then go under EU rule. The mind boggles. Yeah, exactly. That's wee Cranky's plan, or till her man got jailed. In fact, I actually just stick this in.
Hello, ladies. How you doing? Oh, get on. Hey. I trying to. Yeah. Hard job.
It's the land where I'm from. Conscious visions of unicorn. It's the land where I'm from. Conjures visions of unicorns. Her beauty takes a unique form. Otherworldly, yet
It's oh, look at that, it's a bit close, isn't it? Don't think I can get far enough away. It's quite a quite a big crowd. Fine, honestly.
You're not filming just now?
No, at all. Is it a Scottish flag? Yes. Never be seen dead. Scottish.
I don't know if I can. There we go, focus out a bit. Don't know if I can go over here.
I would never.
Just waiting for the speeches from the SNP. So this is the SNP section. So obviously the other side of George Square's the Unionists.
Can you believe that?
And a lot of Palestinian Scotland flags and quite a mixed group, a mixed bunch here. But it's obviously the Greens didn't want the Alba party here. Now, Alex Salmond left an SNP conference because he said wasn't left-wing enough. And after that, he was successful in bringing more left-wing people into Scottish nationalism, into the SNP, and then the party then grew. So that although this is maybe left and right within the left, but it's still probably on the left wing, that the Greens are like the far left and the progressives in the SNP are the left wing. And Alex Salmond is maybe more social democratic, although he started in the further left. So this is sort of arguments amongst themselves. This is like the People's Front of the Judean, the Judean People's Front, and the various aspects of left-wing debate. This is like the trans versus the feminist debacle, which are both predominantly left-wing arguments in the left of the left. So this is they've prevented Alex Salmond being allowed to speak here, and a lot of the people, the Scottish Socialists, so the Scottish Socialist Party want an independent Marxist Socialist Party, a bit like this fella up there as well. So a lot of the stuff they say is counterintuitive and the opposite of what they want and what they would get to what they are actually looking for. Because obviously the EU is a corporatist, a globalist corporatist body who want global corporatist power revolving around them. It's not capitalist, it's corporatist. And they want a socialist Scotland run by these guys. So a lot of stuff isn't logical when you're actually thinking about it from a political science point of view. So you've got nationalism who wants to get controlled by a supranational body. Doesn't make any sense. That means you're basically just a globalist shill party, not a nationalist party. And that goes for the Tories or Labour as well, who want to get controlled by foreign courts who are not democratically accountable, or foreign political bodies such as the UN or EU, in the fact of the Council of Ministers that are dictating the legislation are not accountable, are not democratically accountable, just like the UN is not democratically accountable, and neither is the ECJ, it's not democratically accountable. And this is what we've got just now. A lot of this is the left-wing nationalist movement that's on what they call progressive, but it could be neo-Marxist in its origin. Certainly socialist. Not all socialists were Marxists, but all Marxists were socialists. So this is and the Greens are basically a Marxist body kidding on the environmentalists who want to destroy the Scottish economy by not zero growth, which will reduce taxation, just lead to increased taxation because of reduced tax receipts because they don't want to grow the economy. So it doesn't make sense. It's illogical. But this is what we're going to get. So we're going to get. You've got to understand that this is a far left nationalist party. This is not a nationalist party. This is an independence party, kidding on that they're nationalists, just like the Green parties, the Communist Party, kid on the environmentalists. So the underlying ideology is certainly left wing, either Marxist or neo-Marxist, and that's why even Alex Salmond and Alba, who are of the left, are not invited, because Alex Salmond, like all Scottish leaders, have really, whether the nationalist or unionist, governed from a social democratic stance, political stance. and that's what their underlying policies have been, social democratic. And as we spoke to the guy there, some people want to turn Scotland into Islamo North Korea and two authoritarian ideologies. So they're not really, none of the stuff is really coherent in what they want to do. We want a wee Pol Pot in Islamo North Korea and get rid of capitalism. So, but they don't want to talk about that side of it. They've not to talk about that. They've not to actually say that that's the underlying manifesto. That we've just sort of glossed over. We'll cover that under Islam, or we'll cover it under progressive politics, or we'll cover it under environmental politics. But you have to dig a wee bit deeper to see what the underlying people actually believe in. And obviously, as we just discussed there, 100 million people died under Marx. I do not buy into an independent Scotland being an Islamo-Marxist paradise. I don't buy into that vision of Scotland. Didn't think Robert the Bruce did either. And obviously, Islam and Marx are deeply anti-Scottish. I told you about what Engels wrote in Marx's periodical Nair Rancid Scheitum, which is Marx's periodical about committing genocide on the Scots. But a lot of people haven't read it and they really don't understand it, and even in Scotland. So, some have read Das Kapital and think that that's a great book. Hamza, to concern Scotland, he's English pretty different. Scotland has English pretty different. Yeah, well, I mean, that's another thing. I mean, Robert the Bruce obviously went on pilgrimage to fight against Islam, and I'm sure he'd be turning in his grave just now. Maybe we could get free energy from him turning in his grave about the real story of Robert the Bruce and what actually happened to his heart, taken on pilgrimage by the Black Douglas to the Battle of Teba to fight against Islam, because the Muslims were, instead of asking for a tribute through coins, they were asking for like 100 virgins from the northern Free States in what was Andalus at that time, governed by the Muslims. So a lot of people don't really know the history, don't really know the politics, and don't really know the actual stories. They get Hollywood stories and not really understanding the actual political science behind it. So both Islam and Marx are both anti-Scottish, especially Engels' part. They're both anti-Scottish, anti-Celtic as well. Yeah, they are actually want to back an environment where the state owns all of the assets, and obviously that's not very good. The difficulty is in capitalism when you've got state monopolies, and then they can actually gerrymander the prices when you've not got true capitalism in a certain maybe a utility. Then should you have it owned by the state or by industry, and if you have it run by industry, would you have to bring in certain legislations to make sure they don't just profiteer from a single entity of a utility? That's something that I think needs to be discussed. But obviously the state has proven to be disastrous in its running of various utilities, including we all have to look at the ferries fiasco under the SNP. Why they would be designing or even commissioning ferries is certainly beyond me, and it's obviously not working. So yeah, I mean, really honestly, so this is very much the left. This is the left. So this is not, these people are not nationalists as we know nationalists, although there's obviously a lot of Scottish flags. And this is another thing you may or may not know for the international British audience. The people who lived in this area of Scotland were called the Britons. The Britons. No, they weren't the Scots. The Scots are an Irish tribe. So both like the Scots and the Norwegians and the Vikings who invaded are actually people who have come to here. The actual indigenous population were the Britons. Briton, not Tain. with the Britons. This is the ethnic group from this area, including Glasgow and the southwest Scotland, are the Britons. They spoke Brittonic, not Gaelic, which is an Irish language, and it wouldn't be called Scotland. It should, and this is Scotland. We don't know if the Picts spoke Gaelic or spoke an Irish dialect or spoke Brittonic, but Brittonic would have been spoken from Glasgow, certainly in this area. Strathclyde went away down to Cumbria, and Brittonic was spoken from here down to Cornwall. So it wasn't like a lot of people think it's Brittonic or Gaelic. Gaelic's not an indigenous language to Scotland. There might be a dialect of Irish, but it's not the indigenous language. People of here are called Britons. Ethnic people of here are called Britons. And not the Britons from the Unionist point of view, but ethnically Britons, and they would have spoke Brittonic. So Brittonic is the indigenous language here, not Gaelic or Scotland. Scotland's obviously a tribe that moved over here. The Scots were a tribe, an Irish tribe, moved over here. There's not much difference. You'd be hard pushed to know who was Brittonic and who was of the Scottish descent. But we have just taken on board the wrapper of being a part of Greater Ireland or Hibernia, but that's not the ethnic origins of this part of Scotland. The ethnic origins are Brittonic, the language is Brittonic, and the ethnic group is Britons. That was from that's from the Romans. Just in case we're struggling, so that's why when I was saying in the Scottish Parliament, the English is Germanic and Gaelic is Irish. They're neither the indigenous language to Scotland. The indigenous language to Scotland is Brittonic, and the Britons of this area. There's nothing wrong with being Irish or being Irish in Scotland as well, as it's named after. But I'm just saying it's historically wrong. So this is us clearing up a few differences that a lot of individuals don't really understand or get. And as I said, you'd be hard pushed to know who was Brittonic and who was actually Scottish from the Scottish Dalrada. And I think as well, when you do genealogy tests, they don't differentiate between Ireland, Wales and Scotland. So even if it was ethnically Brittonic or culturally Brittonic, you might not have any ethnic difference. They might be the same as somebody from Ireland, for example, or Wales for that, who's ethnically Welsh. So I thought I would just throw that in there. So this is going to be very interesting, listening to these characters speak. I wish I'd got on with it. It's absolutely boiling out here. This is the sunniest day I've seen so far this year. So you join it here. Here, look. The flexibility of having a camera in it, a camcorder. What is it? 15 Pro Max. Yeah, it's quite good. Yeah, it works. It does the trick. It's a bit difficult sometimes getting connection. I'm sure about that. Are you live streaming? Are you live streaming? Who are you for? Who are you working with? Who are you working with? Right. Are you just a generic broadcaster? So that was quite enjoyable, that. Let me just tighten this up, it's spinning round here. I don't know how long these guys are going to take. We're all boiling here, man. Everybody's taking off their jackets and enjoying the summer sun in April. So it's devastating times for the SNP and the greater nationalist movement, as the SNP have been at the head of independence for the last 70 odd years, 70 plus years. And now that the ex-First Minister's husband is now being charged with fraud, and the current First Minister's brother-in-law is up for abduction and potential drug trafficking and extortion with a guy who fell out a window afterwards. So this is disastrous for the greater nationalist movement. It's probably a bigger disaster for the SNP in per se, but the actual percentage of the nationalist movement isn't going down, but it is a big problem for the conduct of people around the MPs. Just took this off to give the battery a wee charge there. So don't know what they're waiting for, Christmas. It is absolutely boiling. Let me just see if I can slip this back in here. What's that? Well, I may well do. Maybe I'll over here. It could well over here, but it's very difficult to have this on and try and actually get it in. Oof! I thought I'd cut you guys off there. Sorry, I apologise. I'm technical difficulties at my.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the first ever Believe in Scotland March and Rally.
Where's the yes bikers? Are they here yet?
No. If we could put our hands together for the yes here in about 2 minutes' time. Thank you so much. What a beautiful, beautiful day to celebrate something that's so important, something that's so, so close to my heart, and I believe to everybody in this audience's heart today. This is something that so many people and so many generations have worked hard for to achieve. And it's so important that we celebrate this and that we're proud of what we're doing here today. Believe in Scotland have teamed up with pensioners for independence to march for independence, but to put an end to pensioner poverty. Today is all about sharing our positive vision for an independent Scotland, and I'm filled with so much, I think, inspiration as I look around the crowd today. We are going to be your hosts for today, and we're going to have a variety of different speeches from all of our guests, all part of the independence movement. So we hope that they're going to be here now with us very, very shortly.
Oh, is that them? Oh, come on, look, speakers! I have no idea where they're coming from. There they go! Yes, bikers over there coming in from the north. As well as you kind, lovely folks here in George Square in Glasgow. We're also being live streamed by Independence Live. If you're watching from home, please do get involved and send us a message using the hashtag #BelieveInScotland. We will be checking Twitter, Facebook and all the socials over the course of the afternoon. So please do tell us where you're tuning in from. So, I'd like to say a huge thanks to the Sor Alaba Pipe Band as well as Sheboom for leading our march today. We are going to have a little bit more music later on, but it's time to introduce our first speaker.
Yes, our first speaker is a musician, journalist, political activist, and one half of the legendary pop duo Hue and Cry, with his younger brother Greg, a frequent sought-after writer and political commentator. Pat has been an independent supporter since the 1980s, and in the 90s has served as a rector of Glasgow University. A columnist for the national newspaper, Pat has also authored the book The Play Ethic, which explores the real meaning of play. The book shows how a more playful society would revolutionise and liberate our daily lives. Please, please welcome Pat Kane.
Jesus, Mary and Joseph, look at all of you! This is amazing. You'll be thankful to hear I've only got 5 minutes. And the last time I was here, there was a certain young legal student named of Sturgeon to one side of me, and on the other side of me was George Galloway. So please, don't fill your bottles with anything and throw it at me. It wasn't my fault. I was a naive ingenue, political ingenue. Listen, I was very pleased to be asked to do this, very proud, because I've been standing in George Square arguing for independence for about 30, 40 years of my life. Anybody been with me on that route? Yeah. And I wanted to say, I wrote an article for the National this morning. Don't worry, I'm not going to recite it, but it was an attempt to kind of ask myself in the midst of dire headlines, in the midst of an oppositional media, why did I think independence was an excellent and admirable and desirable idea? And I've just got 3 things to say in my remaining 3 minutes, so it'll take a minute for each. The first thing I dug into, and I realised I stand on this ground no matter what happens with the independence movement, is independence is a peace project. Am I right? It's interesting, if you read a lot of magazines and you read a lot of opinion editorials, because of various geopolitical manoeuvres, people are starting to worry about the bomb again. Do you know what? The bomb never went away.
Yes, tell it, Pat.
I was reading a book, there's a woman called Annie Jacobson who's brought out a book called Nuclear War, a Scenario, and she reminds us that as soon as the Americans observed the flare of the rockets in Russia, The president has 6 minutes to decide when to react. We've been living that way for 30, 40 years. It's insane. And any country, any politics, any territory that has an opportunity to react against that should take that possibility. The moral core of independence is what? Is anti-Trident. Again, am I right?
Anti-Trident.
So to me, that is the number one reason for independence, is to save the planet. No small ambition, I'm sure you agree.
You're right, you're right.
Second thing is, I think that Scotland, we know we're very, very proud of our sustainability, our natural resources, our renewable resources. It's good we can try to make a business out of it, we can do industrial policy about it, we've got lots of business perspectives on it. But you know what? Trouble is coming down the pipe for climate. There is stuff baked in that we're going to have to deal with for the rest of the century. And you know what we've got the opportunity to do in Scotland? We've got the opportunity to build a society, an eco-civilization that's ready for it, that's prepared for it. What is it that we do in Scottish politics? We invent things, we innovate, we try things out. We have the biggest possible challenges when it comes to environmentalism. We're doing it, but we should do it even more intensely. We should be the eco-nation that other nations inspire. Again, do you disagree? No! The other thing, what was it? The second thing I thought about independence, what do I believe that independence is for? Independence is about dealing and coping with the future. We know, I've just mentioned the environmental perspective, but you know, we've got machines, artificial intelligences, biotech coming down that's going to challenge our jobs, it's going to challenge what we think we do, whether we do routine, whether we live an extra 30, 40 years because the biologists have figured out how to extend the lifespan. We actually have on one side the limits of the planet, and on the other the unlimited nature of technologies. Now, what can you do in a nation? What can you do in a democratic nation? You can decide what to do about what happens in your own country, and that's very much the case when it comes to technology. Look, the future's coming at us. What's the best way to deal with it? What's the best way to deal with the future? Correct, independence. Third thing, and this is my final point, I could have picked a better day to come to stand and speak in front of a square full of independent supporters, because I don't think our political classes, our party political classes, are serving us very well no matter where they are. So the one thing I realise about independence is that it's not just independence from above, it's independence from below. In order to be independent, you have to start being independent, and it's so fantastic to see all the different groups, all the different interests, and this week and in 2 weeks' time is again in the same place. I don't care how many demonstrations it is, we see each other and we see each other's power, and our power is from the grassroots. So if you're involved in a grassroots organisation who doesn't wait, who doesn't ask for permission, just asks for forgiveness, I salute you and I cheer you, and please go ahead, cheer yourselves, come on. If you're involved in the grassroots of independence movement, you are the independence movement, and I salute you. And you know what? It can be messy. People can get involved in niche fights and definitions. I don't care. I think the energy that's on display here is exactly the most precious resource that independence has. So in order to be independent, we have to be independent and independent-minded ourselves. So those are my 3 reasons. We save the world, we deal with the future, and we empower ourselves. What 3 better reasons could you want to be an independent Scotland? Agreed? Agreed. All right, thank you very much. I'm going to pass on to the next big mouth. See you later. Have a great day.
Please give a big round of applause for Pat King. How are we all getting on? And for those of you at the back, how are you all getting on? So, for those of you watching at home on Independence Live, and also use in George Square, please send comments, nice ones hopefully, using the hashtag #BelieveInScotland. Our next guest is a filmmaker and director, Jane McAllister. Not a dry eye in a Glasgow film theatre. If anyone has seen this heartwarmingly beautiful film, you'll understand the passion for independence that Jane has. I saw it at a packed out theatre. It was beautiful. To see ourselves as a fascinating snapshot of grassroots activism during the 2014 referendum campaign. Please welcome Jane McAllister.
Thanks. I'm a bit nervous. Sorry, I've never spoken like this. I filmed the lead up to the 2014 independence referendum through the perspective of my family in Musselburgh in East Lothian, and I didn't really mean to make the film. It was fairly tricky. I was actually heavily pregnant at the time, and I wouldn't recommend anyone make a documentary like that. It was full on, and yeah, I couldn't get any funding, so it's taken me 10 years to get to this point, and I've been touring around Scotland with the film, and it's just been marvellous to speak to people and hear the feedback and share the story. My dad I was filming my dad, and he initially asked me to film some of the meetings that he'd set up for YouTube, and I just was going to help out because I hadn't picked up the camera in a long time, and I got into these meetings and I had a radio mic on my dad, and it wasn't really the speeches at the meetings, as good as they were. I was already on board. The thing that I was interested in was zooming into these conversations that he was having with activists on both sides, and the passion and the fluency that people were speaking and articulating these discussions. And I thought, this is so interesting and important, and it felt like maybe history was happening, and I actually really felt like I was filming the rebirth of a nation. I don't want to spoil the ending of the film, but I couldn't make it happy. Well, yeah, there's sadness, but actually going around and sharing this story, what I've found is people find the film completely uplifting, because what it is a record of what we all know happened in the summer of 2014, which was the sheer embodiment of hope and joy, and it happened here in George Square, and people were dancing and singing and coming together and believing in a better future, and that's what I hope that I recorded in the film. It wasn't the divisive referendum that some people would like us to believe. It was totally energised. Everyone had an opinion. No matter what your opinion was, you were expected to have it, and you expected to speak it. And as a filmmaker, that was amazing, because I would just go out with my camera onto the street and people would come up and they would talk about the economy, they would talk about currency, about pensions, about nuclear weapons, and yeah, it was just marvellous. And I think it was a time that we should be proud of. And my worry is that people who believe in the Union don't want us to be proud of that peaceful movement for change in 2014, and they don't want us to be proud of our civic nationalism as opposed to ethnic nationalism, and they don't want us to be proud of our moral cause, our socialist values, and our distinct Scottish culture. And the reason they don't want us to be proud is because when we're proud, we're confident, and we know where that's going to lead. So maybe that's why there were so many roadblocks to this film getting out. But yeah, it's called To See Yourselves, and I think that's what it does. It holds a mirror up to society, and that's what culture and art should do. It helps us understand ourselves. And the thing that observational documentary can do, that this is not talking heads, this is people on the street. It's natural action happening, and what it does is what news reporting can't do and what social media can't do, it brings empathy into the debate. And you know, one of the best pieces of feedback I got was in the screening in Cromarty, where an Englishman said to me, he moved up 3 years ago with his family, and he said, I never understood the desire for independence, and now watching a film I do. And that's all it is, it's just understanding. He's maybe not going to vote for it, but he understands our movement and the emotions behind it. So, I mean, I certainly would like to see a documentary from the other side. I would like to understand it. I think all these stories should be supported. But I will say, you know, this film was actually managed to come out through a number of things. It was support from my family, first of all, and many friends who watched many edits and gave me the support, and people like Pat Kane and Leslie Riddick who watched cuts and gave me the backing that I needed emotionally. And then there was a crowdfunder which a year ago this week we launched, and it was strangers, people I didn't know, put their hands in their pockets and gave me money to help finish the film. So if anyone here did that, thank you so much. You made this happen, and it makes me realise actually the big lesson of this whole project was that you have to just do it yourself. You can't really rely on the institutions or the committees or the people that follow rules. You just have to get out there, and I'm just so grateful that people supported me in that. And to that end, we hope that you will help us distribute this film further. So we're releasing it now to groups to screen and take it into your communities. And actually this weekend, I've released the film for free. It's online, and you'll see there's a QR code here. There's another one somewhere. If you scan it, you can watch the film tonight or tomorrow. Check it out, and then there's links on that QR code where you can connect with us, and we can help you work your way of showing this film. So I hope you enjoy it. You might cry, but I promise you'll laugh as well. It's your story too. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Jane. We hope everybody's having a fantastic afternoon. And I can't believe the sun's out, to be honest. Like, it's such a beautiful day. Absolutely brilliant. So just a wee reminder, the party doesn't end this afternoon. You're all invited to join us for the Believe in Scotland after party. It's going to be held at the committee rooms on John Street. And it's from 7 p.m. until 12. And we're going to have lots of musical performances, including our host Iona Fife. Tickets are only £5, either on the door or from Believe in Scotland website. So our next speaker is trade unionist Gordon Martin. He is the one who is Scotland's organiser for RMT, dealing with railway infrastructure, CalMac and other maritime companies, as well as road transport. So please everybody put your hands together and welcome Gordon Martin to the stage.
Good afternoon, Glasgow. You can see I've brought the weather with me once again, consistently bringing the good weather. You know, it's a policy of my union to work for a socialistic order of society, and that's why I believe in independence. Because under the failed Westminster governments of any Tory colour, whether it's Tory blue, red Tory, or any other colour of Tory, we will have child poverty, we will have pensioner poverty, we will have homelessness, we'll have drug and alcohol addiction problems. And we need to break that vicious social circle, and I believe the only way we can do it is through Scottish independence. You can also say It's fantastic to see our comrades here with the Palestine flags. Ceasefire now. And it's also good to see the Scottish Government have the courage of their convictions to at least demand a ceasefire for day one, and not like the the windbag Tories at Westminster, hedging their bets, vote back in Israel, back in genocide. Absolutely disgraceful, and let's hope they pay the electoral price very shortly. However, we kick out the blue Tories, we may very well end up with the red Tories. But don't lose hope. Let's keep fighting for independence. Let's keep fighting for social justice. And to have social justice, we need social policies. We need an infrastructure policy. We need integrated travel. We need all these things. And to be honest, the Scottish Government could be doing more with the current powers they've got. So we need bold and transformative policies for the current Scottish Government that will enthuse people like you to vote for independence. Weak and managerial policies don't bring votes. So we need to bring back the spirit of 2014, where the people in the schemes right across Scotland were the people driving us forward to independence. That's where we need to get back to. We need to stop tinkering about with policies that suit the middle class and the middle class alone. We need policies that drag everybody up. That's the game we're in. We need social policies. We really need socialist policies, but we're not going to get that for the SNP. So we'll take social policies as a starting point and we'll work for there to build a real country we can all be proud of. A country that takes its place on the international stage, that demands ceasefires in Gaza, that demands an end to the aggression and the genocide, and that demands people are treated as human beings right across the globe. That's why I want independence. I don't want to be a generation that passes inferior conditions, social conditions onto my kids. That's not the natural order of things. The natural order of things is that my kids should inherit the earth, a better form of the earth than I inherited from my parents. And that doesn't come easy. And as our union rule book says, to work for a socialistic order of society. So that means it's not going to be easy. But demos like this send a clear message to the rotten government at Westminster, the rotten clique at Westminster, and in my humble opinion, the rotten opposition at Westminster, that the people of Scotland aren't going to stand for it. The people of Scotland demand an end to child poverty. They demand an end to pensioner poverty. They demand an end to homelessness. They demand an end to crap housing. We need proper council housing built for the people, especially the young people in this country. That's what we need. And any party or politician that can't sign up to that, for me, isn't worth voting for. So people that are here in the SNP or the Greens or any other party, ALBA, any party involved in the indie movement, you need to keep their feet to the fire and keep pushing them to the left. Keep pushing them for socialistic policies, because without that, we'd be well staying with the rotten mob in London. That's the reality. If you're poor and living in a damp house, it doesn't matter to you if it's a Tory that's put you there or any other form of government. So we need transformative change right across Scotland. And any party that isn't up for that, we need to kick them out. And I'll end with this. It's disappointing here, we've got a lot of the Yes family here, but some have been excluded, and I'm not a member of any party. I've no axe to grind whatsoever. But we need the whole Yes family here. We need the whole Yes family fighting together to end all the poverty issues I've just spoke about. And we need to end the student politics of some of the politicians. I'm not interested in any of the politicians. I'm interested in you guys. So keep fighting. The independent stream hasn't gone away, and hope is always stronger than fear. Solidarity.
So as I said, this is none really to do with nationalism, this is to do with socialism. And socialism fails every player it's done. So they've not really quite understood that socialist politics haven't quite ever worked. I'm from a left-wing background, I understand, but I've got critical thought, so I'm able to critically analyse. A lot of people hear the word socialism, get emotionally reactive. It's never worked, it's never going to work, it's never going to work.
Okay, thank you so much, Gordon, from the RMT Union, RMT Trade Union that is. So, how are we all getting on? Sunburnt yet? I think I might be. We've had some lovely comments through today, very substantial Believe in Scotland march, and a wee wave from Humza Yousaf, that's Dr. Siobhan Walsh on Twitter. Of course, I must mention that today's march has only been possible through the tireless work of Believe in Scotland, as well as our partner organisation, Pensioners for Independence. Please give a big round of applause for Pensioners for Independence. So next up, we have an absolute treat for you in our first musical endeavour of the afternoon. It's not me, I'm no singing. The next act is an artist I'm really excited about. It's a new song that they're going to perform. This is a new musical project from an artist called Kirsty Heggie. Yeah, round of applause for Kirsty. Aria is a mix of acoustic and electronica music with powerful fluid vocals, with Celtic, spiritual tones and captivating storytelling. On the project's new album, there's a song called The Unicorn Song. It features one of my favourite folk singers, Adam Holmes. Please do check out this wonderful artist and give them a follow or a like, or buy their music. It's on Bandcamp. Please welcome Kirsty Heggie.
How beautiful. It's so nice to be here. So I'm going to sing a song for you. So I'm going to sing two songs. One is called Galan La, which is near enough in Gaelic, seize the day.
We are a gentle people, and our land is rich and fit and able, and we ourselves are fully capable. All that's left to do is enable. We want our fair share at the table. No sound of fairness, with all a fable. Let's not get lost in the noise. Down Westminster way. Let's take a stand. Let's not stand in our own way. Seize the day. Seize the day. All your hopes and dreams must surely fade away if you don't seize the day. And when I woke from the dream, I cast my vote like a wishing stone into the stream. And it danced over the water, making dimples like the lines of an ancient face, smiling ripples echoing through time. For a stream is just a stream, though she longs to be the sea. For she must be all that she can be. Oh, she can be. So seize the day. Seize the day.
Thank you so much. So it's Aria Music is the name of the project. Aria after the mermaid who apparently thrusts her pelvis out over the M80 in Cumbernauld. Aria 2 hours. So for the next song I had a marvellous combination of artists that came together and we collaborated on the Unicorn song. That is, any fans of Glasgow rapper Gasp? Gasp. One person. Adam Holmes and Becca Starr collaborated together on this piece with myself. So, without further ado, all good.
Sitting on the breeze, we recount the scene. No dream, our people had a dream. We're not just dreamers let down by what, 2%. Shake off the dust and step on board. You know some things were meant. Use your voice. The voice is yours to use. What will the country's future be? It's up to us to choose. There are no failures, only things to overcome. Let's define our boundaries. Just think of the year become. Things of the eyes of the every falls. We're not sleeping in the guns. Where things are deep, but someone's alone. all the people where truth flows. We're gonna shine a little louder for the ones that lost at sea. And your light from the sea can't breathe. I believe she can carry us to where we need to be. Sing to the ears of the lonely friends. We're not sheep, we're unicorns. We're innocent and kids on too long. Show the people we're truly strong. We gotta shine a little louder for the ones that lost at sea. It's your light from the sea, can't breathe. I believe can carry us to where we need to be. Sing to the unicorns. We're not unicorns. We're innocent kids on too long. Show the people we're truly strong. Shine light for the ones still lost at sea. You can shine a little louder for the ones still lost at sea. We gotta shine a little louder for the ones still lost at sea. Thank you very much, Glasgow. Stay strong. Hope over fear.
What's she gonna do now? Absolutely brilliant. That was fantastic. That was absolutely fantastic. Please put your hands together again for Ada Music. You can support, please do support Scottish independent musicians. We've got some of the best musicians in the world, in my opinion. And you can support that particular song called Unicorn. Download it on Bandcamp right now. So just a wee reminder of those of you here today watching on the Independence Live site just now to give a wee shout out on social media. That would be absolutely brilliant, and do hashtag Believe in Scotland. Now for our next guest speaker, who is the first elected representative to speak today, Ross Greer. Put your hands together for Ross Greer. He is the MSP for the West of Scotland region and a leading in the Green Party's independence campaign for his work. Ross is actually the youngest ever MSP. Thank you so much, Ross. Please take it away.
Thank you, Eunice, and thank you all so much for coming today. I don't know about you folks, I think our opponents are a wee bit obsessed. They can't stop talking about independence. They can't stop talking about us. And do you know why I think they're obsessed? I think they're afraid because we believe in Scotland. Because we believe that this can be a fairer country, a greener country, a more democratic country. We believe that in one of the richest countries on earth, no child should live in poverty. And we believe in the very simple principle that the people who live here should be in charge of this country's future and they should get the governments they voted for. Our opponents are afraid of all that because they don't have an alternative. As it gets for Scotland. They think that the choice should be between the cruelty of the Tories and a Labour opposition who don't believe in any change at all. And it is the people who will deliver that. And we certainly believe that our country could do so much better, that we deserve better than a government that is continuing to arm the state of Israel while it commits a genocide in Palestine. Please give it up for the Palestine Solidarity Bloc who are marching with us today. And say it with me, ceasefire now, ceasefire now, ceasefire now. Friends, beware our opponents trying to divide us. Their latest attempt at division is to try and pretend that there's a story in the SNP telling you to vote for them and the Greens telling you to vote for us. Shock! Two different political parties think that you should vote for them. We do, because we have different visions for this country, but the one thing that we are united on, that all of us here are united on, is that it should be for the people of this country to decide its future, and that we can do so much better than what Westminster offers us right now. And as the Green Party, we know that independence is critical for tackling the climate emergency. It's been a difficult few days for Scotland's climate ambitions. The targets we set, those world-leading targets, they were set by all parties, including the Tories, on the understanding that the UK government would cooperate with us. But they've not. They've ditched their own climate action and they've cut Scotland's infrastructure budget by £500 million this year alone. That's why on Thursday the Scottish Government announced a massive new package of climate action to get us back on track, to play this country's full role in tackling that global crisis and to protect our world-famous natural environment here in Scotland. That is what you're getting from this pro-independence majority government. Friends, the strength of our movement is not in everything that we agree on, I think. It's actually in our disagreements. It's in the range of visions that we have for an independent Scotland. We are united in the belief that it is the people who live here who should make that decision. But we all have a different vision for what that should look like, and we simply want to live in a democracy that allows us to make that choice. The Scottish Greens are proud to play our part in this movement. We are proud to march and campaign with you. And I am more confident now than I have ever been that we are marching towards the day where Scotland's future is in Scotland's hands. Thank you all so much for coming.
Thank you to Ross Greer for that amazingly impassioned speech. We are broadcasting live, Broadcasting Scotland as well as Independence Live are putting this out on social media, and Independence Live are currently crowdfunding to keep getting you the news that you're not seeing on mainstream television. It is a beautiful day for the first ever Glasgow Believe in Scotland March and Rally. Today has been produced by Believe in Scotland in partnership with Pensioners for Independence. And I'm sure many of you remember that beautiful day in September in Edinburgh where we marched down the Royal Mile and had the most wonderful uplifting day. This was in partnership with Yes for EU. Our European connections are so important. Brexit was an unmitigated disaster. Our European connections remains integral to who we are, our traditions, customs, culture, songs and traditions, and is part of the independence movement, a central part of it. We are not the ISO-nationalist Little Britain that the UK government says that we are, which is why I am so excited to announce that Young Scots for Independence is holding its second annual international conference. Down at the front here is Olaf Stando, as well as some of the committee members who are hosting this conference in Stirling on the 17th and 18th of May. They are bringing over 30 European young leaders over to Stirling, putting them up, putting on workshops, socials, panel discussions with MPs and MSPs. And this conference is such a great opportunity for us to reach young activists in major European political parties from as far as Germany. So, the conference led by Olaf Stando, who is here in the crowd, is a passionate cause for Scottish independence, but it's also about us learning from other European countries on how to build a progressive politics. There is a cost involved, and the Young Scots for Independence have been working really hard to fundraise for this. If you see Olaf here today, there's flyers where you can get a little bit more information about the conference. And if you are 16 to 30 years old, you can still join and become a delegate and come along to the conference. Have a Google YSI, our European Future Conference. So, on to our next guest. Do you want the good news or the bad news? The good news is that the next speaker is brilliant. The bad news is that you now have two Ionas. Iona is a former resident of the Faslane Peace Camp. And is passionate about a Scotland without nuclear weapons. Iona is a proud resident of Glasgow, and for the last 3 years she's been working more closely on issues of radical democracy and social movement building within the city. Please give a huge round of applause for Iona Soper.
Hello Glasgow. My name is Iona, my pronouns are she, her, and I believe that Scottish independence is inevitable. And that may be the most optimistic thing I've ever said. I'm mostly conscious that I don't have much time. So take the optimism, savour it as it passes you by, because it's the last you're going to get from me. I want to talk about what happens after we attain our freedom. Because for me, it would be a colossal own goal for Scotland to gain our independence, only to replicate on a smaller scale the policies that we've freed ourselves from. The policies that privatise everything from human welfare to climate action, policies that do not serve the people. And I think this speaks on a number of issues, whether that's the way we organise our housing or our health or our immigration. But I've been invited here today to speak about a subject that none of us can ignore right now, and that's war. I've been a vocal member of the anti-nuclear movement for about 8 years, and the independence movement has been a consistent stronghold for us, as well as a vital part of our strategy. Our independence offers us the unique opportunity to disarm a nuclear state from within, supported by the 70 countries that have already ratified the United Nations Nuclear Ban Treaty. Our Our rejection of weapons of mass destruction is a key part of us forming our own international identity, and our Parliament's commitment to it is to be commended. Our stubbornness can be a flaw, but it's also one of our greatest strengths. But it doesn't take us far enough. Everyone here today is aware of the ongoing genocide in Gaza, the destruction of hospitals and targeting of aid convoys, engineered mass displacement and widespread famine, the highest daily death rate we've seen in any conflict of my lifetime. In Yemen, over 21 million remain in need of humanitarian aid. More than 4 million children are not in school, and over half of this number are suffering from acute malnutrition. In Ukraine, where schools and hospitals have also been targeted, 6 million have fled, leaving 4 million internally displaced. Now, last year, I was part of a Scottish delegation to northeast Syria, where I witnessed the legacies and realities of war following the Syrian civil conflict, the subsequent occupation of the Islamic State, and the current aggression and occupation of the Turkish. Rivers are dammed up and water sources are contaminated. The desertified landscapes are bare of trees. Electricity, when available, is tightly rationed. All cars have their seatbelts removed so that you can always make a quick exit. We see under-resourced resettlement and refugee camps. We see under-resourced prison camps, mass graveyards for the fallen, and orphanages for children with unique ailments from exposure to chemical weapons. This is what war looks like. It is not problem solving. It is not international relations. It is a humanitarian disgrace. The leaders who seek to enact their dominance in this way believe that they can do so with impunity. The British government affirms this belief on the geopolitical front, offering the bare minimum or less in terms of international solidarity, but critically, at least in the cases of Israel and Saudi Arabia and Russia and Turkey, the UK government has actively profited from the sale of arms production and export licenses to these nations. How can we expect a parliament that runs its own government as a business model to make decisions along ethical or humanitarian lines so long as they maintain this conflict of interest? And how can any nation that wants to operate in this way call itself civilized? Scotland is not immune. We're quick to denounce the conflicts, but we're just as quick to defend our own arms industry, even in the face of them manufacturing parts for nuclear weapons, even in the face of atrocities such as we've seen in recent months. If there is one message for Scotland's future that people here can take away from me speaking today, it is this. There are better things for Scotland's economy than dead children. There are better things for Scotland's economy than torture. There are better things for Scotland's economy than genocide. We have seen what is possible when united Scottish workers down their tools and refuse to be complicit in war crimes. Our stubbornness can be a flaw, but it is also our greatest strength. Here's a lesson you learn quickly when living at the Faslane Peace Camp. Self-determination comes with responsibility. An independent Scotland must make a clean break with all forms of British imperialism. Opposing nukes is great, but it's not enough. We must reject the industry of arms for profit and diversify those skills, technologies, and workforce to support other key industries. Our independence should not isolate us internationally. Rather, it is a chance for us to finally shake hands with other nations with our wrists free of shackles and take accountability for ourselves. It's a chance to develop a model for a Western nation that acts not like the bully in the playground, or not like the pompous kid who broke the vending machine so he could sell sweets at an inflated rate, and not like the kid who stands by and accepts these behaviours as inevitable. Scotland deserves better, and the world deserves better from us. Thank you.
Absolutely fantastic. Please give a massive round of applause to Iona Soper. The passion, such an incredible speaker. Absolutely brilliant. Now, before I go on to our next guest, we thought it'd be interesting to find out where everybody is from. See where you've all travelled from today. What was that, Oban? I love it. The guy in the front, brand new. Anybody here from Inverness? Right corner, put your hands together, Inverness. Where? First aid? Oh, first aid. Oh, can we get somebody for first aid, please? Okay. That's all right. Very important. Elgin. Are they all right? Should we give them a wee second? Just taking a wee second. Looking after somebody here in the front. So it is incredible to see everybody here today, and just everybody make sure that you've got your water, you've got your drinks, you've got your beverages and stuff. Stay hydrated. If you see anybody who looks uncomfortable, just give them a wee hand, take them to the sides. We've all got to look after each other. Yeah, really important, you know. But yeah, I'm going to, if it's okay, potentially welcome onto the stage our next speaker. I don't want to overwhelm the person in the front who's actually fainted here. So we'll just give them a wee minute if that's all right. No, it's important. Just give that 2 minutes for the paramedics to come in. Okay, let's sing. No, I'm not singing, man. Come on. Just make sure they're going to be all right over there. Right. Cool. Brilliant. They look like they're going to be okay. So massive round of applause for the ambulance. Everybody here coming together, keeping us safe. Absolutely brilliant, fantastic. So our next speaker is Richie Venton. Yes. They love it in the front. Now, Richie is originally from Northern Ireland and is now living in Glasgow and is a Scottish Party National Trade Union organiser. A lifelong socialist and trade unionist, Richie has been described as being at the head of the mass movement in the 1980s, Liverpool, which actually defeated Thatcher. Please, ladies and gentlemen, welcome Richie.
Friends and comrades in the struggle for independence, the Scottish Socialist Party is proud to have been the socialist wing of the independence movement for the past 25 years, and we believe that workers, trade unionists, young people, pensioners, the unemployed and others on benefit all need to be shut of the rule and ruin of this country by a Tory government that never got a majority for the last 69 years in Scottish elections. The working class majority of the population, in all its glorious diversity of colours and creeds and genders and countries of origin, need to see independence as a route to change, fundamental change, socialist change to the benefit of the millions and not the millionaires. The benefit of the proverbial butchers, bakers and candlestick makers and not to the benefit of the 20 families in Scotland that own more combined wealth than 1.7 million of our people in this country. Our goal of an independent socialist Scotland is to enforce a radical, fundamental and irreversible transfer of wealth and power away from the rich to the rest of us through measures that immediately match people's needs. Measures like a minimum wage in today's money of £15 an hour for everybody over 16, with equal pay for women. Measures like a 4-day week for 5 days pay as a first step to harness the marvels of science, to liberate the working class from drudgery and free them up to run society. We want voluntary retirement at the age of 55 instead of being compulsory into working for a pittance till you drop. We want a society free of poverty, pollution and social isolation by taking all forms of public transport into public ownership and using the wealth freed up from people like the Easdale brothers, 1.5 times over billionaires who own McGill's, and using that wealth ripped off from the passengers to provide free public transport for people of all ages as a means of combating poverty and pollution. To drag Scotland into the 21st century on fleets of clean green buses, trains, subways and ferries in order to create tens of thousands of jobs in the process. We want a Scotland that ends the situation where Grangemouth workers are fearful for their jobs, for green wind farm jobs have collapsed by 4,000 in the last year. A Scotland where retired ex-miners, North Sea oil workers, shipyard workers, nurses, in fact 1 million households shiver through the winters whilst the fossil capitalists in BP, Shell, Ineos and others rake in billions in profit by ripping us off. We want an end to that. We want a Scotland with democratic public ownership of all forms of energy to ensure a rapid transition to green energy production led by workers in the industry themselves, who are the experts after all. We want to provide clean, green, affordable energy to homes and to retrofit every home free of charge, creating an estimated 70,000 jobs in the process. Our vision is a Scotland where we can put an end to the racist, divisive incitement about talk about stopping small boats, and instead we stop the big boats, the very big boats, the nuclear submarines who are infesting the waters of the west of Scotland with warheads who can wipe out an entire population. The Scottish Socialist Party stands for a Scotland that redirects the £220 billion that's squandered on trident weapons of mass extermination into building publicly owned hospitals, publicly owned schools. I don't mean public schools, I mean publicly owned. Quality council housing for rent and a publicly owned national care service fit for the 21st century. We want a Scotland that gives refuge, warmth and the right to work for a decent wage to all the huddled masses fleeing from war, famine and straightforward poverty, to enrich a democratic socialist republic with their cultures and their humanities. That's the kind of Scotland we want. We welcome the fact that the Scottish Government has already called for an end to the war of genocide against the Palestinian people. But we will appeal to the same Scottish Government to stop using public funds to subsidise the profits of the very same arms companies who are making billions a killing out of war, out of slaughter, out of famine in the Middle East. Stop fattening the profits of the warlords. But through the powers of independence, control over defence, over foreign relations, over trade and other things, we want a Scottish Government that can ban all arms sales and the production for war, to send fleets of food ships, medical supplies and reconstruction equipment to the Palestinian people instead of shipments of F-35 stealth bombers and surveillance equipment that hunt down and slaughter men, women and babies. Comrades, we want a Scotland where the defence industry is nationalised under the democratic control of workers and communities, to utilise the skills of those workers to provide the ferries we need, the offshore energy production equipment we need, the hospital equipment we need, production for peace and not for war, truly turning swords into ploughshares, as the book said. And I'll finish with this point. My appeal to you, assembled here today, is go back into your workplaces, your communities, your schools, your colleges, convince thousands of others of the power of people's power to bring about that future. Use people's power to fight for a democratic, independent, socialist Scotland that can be a beacon to other people for a clean, green, socialist country that puts people and the planet before the profits of the plutocrats. Go forth, build and seize that future that we're trying to create. Thank you.
Thank you so much to Richie. So I think it's time for a wee sing-along. Are you in good voice? Okay, I don't have a piano here, so it's going to be all unaccompanied, and it's a really well-known song. The chorus, I probably don't need to teach you, but it goes, will you go, lassie, go, and we'll all go together to pull wild mountain thyme all among the bloomin' heather. Got it? Okay. Oh, the summertime has come, and the trees are sweetly blooming, and the wild mountain thyme grows around the blooming heather. Will ye go, lassie, go, and we'll all go together to pull wild mountain thyme all around the blooming heather. Will ye go, lassie, go, I will build my love a bower near yon pure crystal fountain, and on it I will pile all the flowers of the mountain. Will ye go, lassie, go, and we'll all go together to pull wild mountain thyme all around the blooming heather. Will ye go, lassie, go? If my true love he were gone, truly find no other to pull wild mountain thyme all around the blooming heather. Well, ye go, lassie, go, and we'll all go together to pull wild mountain thyme all around the blooming heather. Well, ye go, lassie, go, I will range through the wilds and the great glen-sea treaty and return to the bower we my spoils for my deedy. Will ye go, lassie, go, and we'll all go together to pull wild mountain thyme all around the blooming heather. Well, ye go, lassie, go, and we'll all go together to pull wild mountain thyme all around the blooming heather. Well, ye go, lassie, go. Thank you.
Oh my God. Absolutely fantastic. Put your hands together for Fiona. Absolutely brilliant, and to everybody who joined as well. Again, just to remind you all about the after party at the committee rooms, please come along. You can pay on the door, you can get your tickets from the website. Can we actually hear a big round of applause for Pensioners for Indy, please? Absolutely brilliant. Now, our next guest is a member of the partners organisation who you've just cheered, Marlene Halliday. Now, she joined Pensioners for Indy after the Brexit referendum when she wanted to be more active in the Scottish independent movement. She serves as a treasurer on the Pensioners for Indy National Coordinating Group, but is also a musical entertainment, part of a musical entertainment troupe. Marlene is an absolute powerhouse. She's a woman of many talents, a fiddler and an activist within the movement. She also is a co-presenter on a podcast with Fiona McGregor. One of their podcast series is called The Up of Independence, Maybe I Show. They also host a show called Bits and Pieces, which is a monthly roundup of the independent related news. She should have actually been retired by now, to be honest, but I'm not quite sure how she does it. So please, everybody, put your hands together and give a massive round of applause for Marlene Halliday.
So apparently I'm an absolute powerhouse. I didn't quite know that, but so today we were marching here. The banner at the front of the march said "Independence to end pensioner poverty." So when Scotland is independent and we've become that nation again, yeah, then we can create a decent retirement pension. But I think we need to start that process now, and I'll tell you why. We've got a current state pension, it's called the UK New State Pension, 220 quid a week, dead generous, isn't it? But if you're 70 or over, you don't get that. You get 50 quid a week, less than that. You get 170 quid a week. Now, some 70, 71-year-olds depend on that 170 quid a week. So can we not do something now to address that? I think we can. So in Scotland, we've got the Scottish Child Payment. It's for low-income families. It's now at £25 a week for each child. Parents say how much less stressful their lives are because they know that money's coming in. It's been described as an absolute game changer for inequality. So how about a Scottish pensioner payment? And yeah, initially we aim it at the folk who are dependent on that pension. How about just 10 quid a week to start off with? I mean, that would make a difference, and that would be a caring thing to do. That would give people some more dignity. And isn't that one of the things that we want our government to do, to help make people's lives easier and give them that dignity? So think about it. I'm not quite sure where the First Minister is, but he's around here somewhere. Think about it, a Scottish pensioner payment to help the pensioners who are really dependent on that measly 170 quid a week. The other thing that was on the banners, of course, is about independence, and I have to say that people my age, we're not convinced. Now, some of us do quite a lot to try and convince more folk, but we haven't managed it yet. For every pensioner who wants Scotland to be independent, there are 2 pensioners out there who want to stay in the UK. But for those of you who are 16, 25, 30, for you it's completely the other way round. More than 2/3 of you want Scotland to be independent. So look, well done, guys. So listen, we need to start talking to each other. Folk my age need to start talking to you, and vice versa. How about we set up some sort of cross-generation conversation project? And in Ireland, when they were making changes to their constitution, just imagine, they've got a constitution, it's written down, they can make changes to it. But the young folk phoned up the older folk, and they helped them to come round to what the changes that they were wanting to make. So yeah, if you're in that younger age group, yeah, of course, talk to your grandparents, but talk to your grandparents' pals. If you've got an elderly neighbour, help them take their bins out, help them get their messages up the stairs and the lifts, because I tell you, it's always really appreciated if you do that kind of thing. Get chatting to them. Tell them why Scotland being an independent nation is important to you. Tell them what a difference you think it would make to you, but also tell them what a difference it would make to them. Point them to Pensioners for Indie Groups, point them to our website, and when you've had a go at that a few times and you've found out the kind of things that can persuade older people, well, then you need to get your message out to a wider audience. And at that point, get in touch with me. Come and talk to us at Scottish Independence Podcast, or talk to the Broadcasting Scotland people, or write something for the National. So we need you younger folk to give folk my age a nudge. Just persuade some of those maybes aye, maybes no pensioner to give your futures a bit more weight than they are doing at the moment. And then listen, in return, we're going to give you a nudge, because you younger folk, yeah, you're convinced about independence, but you're not so good at actually going out and voting for it. See us, we're really good at going out for voting for it. We've got long memories. We can tell you why it's really important, to go and vote if you want to change things, because I'll tell you, we've seen some pretty awful people getting elected down into Westminster over the years, particularly a certain woman Prime Minister. So you persuade us about a bit more and give us a nudge about, you know, why independence is so important to you and what your dreams are about it, and we'll give you a nudge to go and vote. So those two things, Scottish pensioner payment and cross-generation conversations, if we do that, we'll give the polls a wee nudge. And then we can give them another wee nudge. And at some point, hopefully not too far away, we can come here and we can really celebrate. Thank you.
Please give a huge round of applause for Marlene. What a powerhouse of a woman. So, I know you're tired, I know you've been walking, you've been listening to me blather on, but we do have First Minister Humza Yousaf here to give a speech for you all. Woo! And of course, we can't go without saying a huge thanks again to Pensioners for Indy who've supported the event today. It is so important that a current and independent Scotland eradicates pensioner poverty once and for all. So you have been getting in touch on social media. Emma Knox for you says, fabulous day, great turnout, fabulous atmosphere. Gorgeous day for it in George Square. And the speeches begin. I didn't expect sun, but a great day out marching for a fairer and more equal and prosperous Scotland, an independent Scotland at the heart of Europe. Super Believe in Scotland event in Glasgow today. It's time for change, real change. Some lovely feedback in there. So I'm really fair ticket to delight to announce the next speaker. His work I have been admiring for years and years and years. James Robertson is a poet, novelist, short story writer and editor, writing both in English and in the Scots language. And I'm delighted that the Scottish Languages Bill, introduced by our government, is coming into force this year, hopefully. James is most well known for his novels, including The Testament Gideon Mac and The Land Lay Still, which is considered one of the great modern Scottish novels. The other side of Robertson's career since the turn of this has involved publishing children's books in the Scots language. Please welcome James Robertson.
Hello. What a brilliant day this has been. I'm going to keep this short and sharp and to the point because I think everybody's getting a wee bit tired and it's even cooled down a bit. But what a brilliant day, what a brilliant turnout, and congratulations to all of you who have made this such a successful rally, march and rally. I've just, the organisers were of the rally were Pensioners for Independence. Scotland all my life, and it's not changed. In fact, that belief is getting stronger the older I get. So it's brilliant to see so many folk out here. I'm going to keep this very short. I'm going to read you one poem, and it's a very brief history of Scotland. It's called A Shortbread History of Scotland, and it's very easy to follow because it's entirely in cliches. And it goes like this. Hail Caledonia, whiskey galore, make it in Livingston, Lochaber no more. Glasgow's miles better, a Gordon for me, pure dead brilliant, you'll have had your tea. Keep me la falcha, Come awa Ben, will ye no come back again? Give it a how, off he no wheel, Jock Thompson's bairns in the land of the leal. Scotland free or a desert, the stag at bay. Pay no poll tax, Scots wa hae. Lead on, Macduff, it wasna me. Up with the bonnets of bonny Dundee. A parcel of rogues, the thin red line. Granny's heeling hame for auld lang syne. Haste ye back, come on, get off. Muckle fat sumph, stupid wee naff. Here's to us, was like us, made from girders. Lovely biscuits, there's been a murder. The blood is strong, Dunsire blue, where's your Wally Shakespeare now? Thank you. The second thing I'm going to read is based on a phrase that many of you will be familiar with that comes on at the end of the 6 o'clock news or the 10 o'clock news on the BBC. It's that moment when they have to hand the news on from the London studio to all the other studios around the UK, including to the studios in Scotland. And this phrase, I think, was probably created by a committee that was supposed to find something that would not offend anybody. But I find that it offends me all the time whenever I hear it. And the phrase is, the news where you are. So I'm just going to read this wee piece for you and then make way for the last couple of speakers. That's all from us. Now it's time for the news where you are. The news where you are comes after the news where we are. The news where we are is the news. It comes first. The news where you are is the news where you are. It comes after. We do not have the news where you are. The news where you are may be news to you, but is not news to us. The news may be international, national, or regional. The news where we are may be international news. The news where you are is never international news. Where you are is not international. The news where you are comes after the international and national news. The news where you are may be national news or regional news. However, national news where you are is not national news where we are. It is the news where you are. If the news where you are is national news, it is only national where you are. The news where we are is national wherever you are. On Saturdays, there is no news where you are after the news where we are. In fact, there is no news where you are on Saturdays. Any news there is not where you are, it is where we are. If there is news where you are but not where we are, it'll wait until Sunday. After the news where you are comes the weather. The weather where you are is not the national weather. The weather where you are comes after the news where you are, and after the weather where you are comes the national weather. Do not confuse the national weather with the weather where you are. The weather where you are comes first, but is lesser weather than the national weather. Extreme weather is news. However, weather that is more extreme where you are than where we are is not news. Weather that is extreme where we are is news, even if extreme weather where we are is only average weather where you are. on average, weather where you are is more extreme than weather where we are. Tough shit. Good night.
Absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much, and thank you to everybody that's here today. Now, next up we have somebody who I myself am particularly inspired by. We have Gordon McIntyre Kemp. Now, Gordon is actually the founder of Belief in Scotland. He is an economist. He's a columnist at the national newspaper, and he's also many more things. He's the author of the book Scotland the Brief, which is actually about Scotland's economy. And this book has already sold over 70,000 copies. All of the donations of which go towards the Independence Scotland campaign. I'd just like to say that without his work today, this simply would not be happening. So please, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage Gordon McIntyre Kemp.
What a fantastic day we're having, and again the sun is shining on the independence movement. Which isn't so great for me because I keep getting sunburned. Now, 10 years ago this September, Scotland had an independence referendum. And I don't know about you, but I think it's high time we gave the Scottish people a chance to correct the mistake we made that day. And none of this 10-year plans or 15-year plans. I don't want to hear anybody else telling me, oh, I don't think it's going to happen in my lifetime, because it can. How about we start a new campaign? How about we say right here, right now, we're starting a new campaign to get a mandate from the Scottish people for Scotland to be an independent nation at Holyrood 2026. If we can't agree terms on a referendum, we'll make it a de facto referendum and Scotland will become an independent country. Since 2014, the United Kingdom has changed. The UK that existed back then has become an international embarrassment. Brexit, the cost of living crisis, a farcical response to COVID, and also mass corruption in the PPE supply chain, which has never been properly investigated by the police. The United Kingdom of 2014 is a very different country, and if we asked the Scottish people the same question now, they would give a very different answer. And folks, that's why we're not going to agree a referendum with Westminster, because they know if there's a referendum, the United Kingdom is finished. But Scotland doesn't need a referendum to become an independent country, and it sure as hell does not need the permission of the Westminster government either. So maybe let's stop asking for a Section 30. Because a Section 30 is just a temporary transfer of power from Westminster to Holyrood. And who wants a temporary transfer of power? That suggests that Westminster has sovereignty over Scotland, and it certainly does not. So let's demand the power to have a referendum on any subject the Scottish people want, whenever the Scottish people want one. But folks, don't hold your breath, because Sir Keir Thatcher, democracy snatcher, is never going to agree to a referendum. He's about to be handed a massive majority, one of the biggest in British political history. It would be akin to being an elected dictator, and he does not give a damn about Scotland and will not have to listen to the people of Scotland. So the writing's on the wall. As far as I'm concerned, it's a de facto referendum in 2026. That is the choice of the UK government, because obviously the Scottish government has been asking for a referendum. The Scottish people have asked for a referendum in multiple elections. They think it's a good choice because they think it'll divide us, because they're making us choose to vote for a political party rather than to vote for our nation. But it's going to rebound on them, because as soon as the Scottish independence movement has a target, as soon as we have a road to independence, we will be able to come together and unite, and when we come together, no one can stop us. Now folks, I hear people say that independence is the dream that won't die. Yeah, fair enough, I like that. But how about we stop talking about it as a dream and start talking about it as a plan with a deadline, and let's get people activated, and let's go out there and talk to the undecided, engage them, and find a way to understand why they haven't voted for independence in the past and bring them over to our side. The last summer, Believe in Scotland published its Road to Independence, and it had a constitutional convention on Scottish independence at its heart. After this general election, let's get that out of the way, launch a new constitutional convention on Scottish independence, and get every single yes group, every single political party, every campaigning organisation, every think tank, everyone included. This can't be a elites talking house or conversation amongst political elites. It has to involve everyone within our movement, and also it has to involve the people of Scotland. It has to be a new national conversation. Let's go out to the streets with this convention and ask people to tell us what are their dreams, their hopes, and their aspirations for Scotland. Let's get them to tell us what they would change to make Scotland a better place. And if they tell us the type of country they want us to build, then they will vote for that plan when we put it back in front of them before Holyrood 26.